What style of play does Baylor play, and who are the players that really present challenges to you guys?
I think they have one of the best teams in the nation. Outstanding guards. I think Hunter Dickinson is probably one of the best college bigs. I mean, he's an elite big. He's right up there with all the big guys we've seen the last 7 or 8 years. But I think the big kid that Baylor has is probably the best NBA prospect. Massie. He's a guy that's going to get drafted in the first round whenever he comes out. And whether it's this year or next year, he's a first round draft choice. They're guards. They got so many outstanding guards. Jacoby Walters, another kid that will go in the first round when he decides to come out. So they start 2 first-round draft picks. Dennis is probably their most solid guard. Nunn's kind of a X factor. I think he had 26 against Oklahoma. All their guards are capable of getting 25. Dennis, Nunn, Walter, Love. That's 4 explosive, extremely offensively talented kids. Their four-man is a prototype stretch 4. He's made a ton of threes this year. So they always have 4 guys on the floor that can make threes. They've got an elite rim protector in the C, which is why they're ranked among the top teams in the nation. I mean, they're really good.
We'll go to Chancellor Johnson with KPRC TV. Chancellor, please go ahead, sir.
Hi, Kelvin. How are you?
Good, Chester.
Good. I know you guys are really big on working and developing the skill set of guys. You guys are working at individual drills and things like that every day in practice. But how do you personally go about developing confidence in players so that they can go out and perform, game day, even when you're chewing them out, they still have confidence to go out there and play their game, with the program?
What's the stuff you guys never see is where the confidence comes from. I've always been a firm believer that you gain your confidence through your preparation and through your work. It's the importance of practice. Easiest players to motivate are the kids with high self-esteem, and all our kids have high self-esteems, and they get that from our coaching staff.
Thank you, Chancellor. We'll go to Chris Baldwin with Paper City Houston. Chris, please go ahead.
Hey, Kelvin. A number of your guys to talk about how hard Malik is to go against in practice. How has Malik's practice habits sort of set him up for success he's having now?
Well, first of all, he had to learn how to practice. It's always an adjustment for every kid, not just Malik. Malik's no different than anybody else that's coming here. I'd say Malik's very similar to Marcus Sasser, Jarris, Armani Brooks, Damian Dotson. I can go all the way back. They're all the same as far as that. Malik's no different than anybody else. He just had to learn how to practice in the standards that as a head coach, you have standards, and I don't negotiate the standard. You come to practice every day, ready to go to work. Malik had to adjust to that, and some of them have kind of low key, chill personalities. Damian Dunn's a lot like that. Malik was a lot like that, and those kids probably have the toughest adjustment, but they all do it, So I can't think of one guy that has not made the adjustment. So I would say Malik's just like the rest of them.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go to Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle. Joseph, please go ahead.
Good morning, Kelvin.
Good morning.
Kelvin, after the game the other night, you when you were talking with Scott Van Pelt, you mentioned about the I guess the goal, the message is to stay in the moment with the guys. You don't look ahead. You just look in the moment. Is that easier said than done, or is it because of what you guys have here and how you go about your business that stuff doesn't allow itself to creep in? The outside noise, the talk of seeding or records or rankings, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know where you go to hear the noise though. That's not in my world. I got here this morning around 8:30 and worked on my desk for about 30 minutes, getting organized for the day. Then I had some clips put on my iPad that I wanted to watch. Then we came into a staff meeting at about 5 minutes to 10, and we got done about 10 after 11. And so all we talk about is getting ready for the game. I'll see the players off and on most of the day. Most of that conversation is, revolves around academics or treatment or the extra work they need to get in. Then once practice starts, we start preparing. So that's more your world, Joseph, because that's what you guys are paid to do. So I don't really live in that world. I know that as you get older, you just manage the things you can control. I know that's easy for me to do, though. Maybe it's because I'm so old and been doing it for so long. I don't know, but I just don't ever get carried away with any of that stuff. I mean, we can easily lose this game Saturday. If we do, we'll come back and get ready and try to play Cincinnati. But I'm not living in a world outside of my world. And these kids live in my world. I can't control what they do with social media or the people they see or what they say. But I never talk about any of that stuff. I know how hard it is. I'm sure we got a large segment of our supporters that already take making the tournament for granted. They think it's easy. Or that we should be this, or we should be that. That's a little silly. But it's hard to win a game, man. 2 weeks ago, the greatest team ever was UConn. And about a week later, the greatest team ever was Purdue. They just went out and got beat on the road. We're going to get beat too. Or we all of a sudden become a bad team because we lost. And we're a much better team. When you're ranked as high as you are and you start winning, you're never as good as people say you are. Then when you lose, you're not nearly as bad as people think you are. So I just keep everything balanced for us. Our defense, our pick and roll defense has got to be elite. Recovering the shooters have got to be elite. And it'd be nice if we can get our guards all to make shots on the same night instead of taking turns. So that's kind of the world I live in.
Thank you, Joseph. We'll go back to Chris Baldwin, please. Chris, go ahead.
Kelvin, how important is it to have a strong, second team that can push that first group in practice? And how has this group been?
I would say the younger guys have had their challenges. Cordell and Jacob said, it's been good for them from a development standpoint, but I probably had to run this white team more so than others because of the mistakes they make. But the mistakes they make are born out of inexperience. Malik is older, he's experienced. Ramon is older, experienced. Damian's older, experienced. But that's 3 guys. So either Jacob or Sed's going to be in there, and I try to get Cordell as many reps as I can, playing all the guard positions. So I'd say this red-white team's been okay. I wouldn't say it's been our best one, but they play hard. Their size, the size is an issue. I can see it. I can see their individual development. Jacob McFarland's not the guy he is now is not the guy he was when he got here. one of the ways I evaluate rebounders is whether they can go out in traffic. When he hits their hands, can they secure it? And can they get it in traffic? When not said is a guy that's more of a brute, a masher, but he doesn't have great hands. So, but Jacob's got great hands, and he doesn't bounce off said or JVR or J1. You know, JVR was about 230, 235. One's about 230, 235. JoJo's about the same. All these guys are strong, really strong. But Malik is going against Jamal Shed, LJ Cryer. You know, sometimes when you see guys every day, kind of get bored with them. And when you get bored with them, you focus on what's wrong with them. The cynical negative stuff. We have a good team. The white team gets to play against that red team every day. You can't help but get good, right? I mean, that red team's really good. But I like the development that this white team has had. You know, we've had some really, really good white teams in the past. But I really appreciate the effort these guys put in. I love the things our assistant coaches do on a daily basis. But you know, they all come. They learn how to play in a team setting, in team concepts, and they learn to figure out what their role is, how to play their role. And you measure yourself by playing against the best players. So, and our red teams plays hard. I mean, they play hard, and so does the white team. So it's been good. You know, I think we've had 91 practices, and I think every single player on this team has improved, which is why our team keeps getting better.
We'll go to Starnes Leland with the Cougar. Starnes, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning, Starnes.
You've mentioned the importance of, your teams playing their best basketball in March. Where do you think specifically this team has to improve between now and the end of the regular season?
I don't think any one thing specific. Just you're always fighting slippage. You know, there are certain things that we don't work on every single day, but you have to be mindful of when you're watching your team. You just can't look. You've got to see. If I see an area, that's why I like to watch our game in segments. You know, from the tip to the 10-minute mark, from the start of the second half to the 10-minute mark. Those are two critical parts of the game. What areas are going on that's causing us to struggle in certain times? Usually you can pinpoint whether it's getting to the line of scrimmage with our bigs, whether it's our back pressure with our guards. When the ball's going away from you, are you following the ball, or you guarding the ball, or you guarding your man? You know, things that my eyes see that I'm always looking for slippage. So just making sure that we're not going to get a whole lot better. You know, we've had 90 practices and 26 games. We're not all of a sudden going to take another step between now and March. I think it's 8-9 days away, right? So just keep working. And just be a little bit more consistent shooting. We get a lot of good shots that the other night we were missing them. Notice a lot of nights you don't notice it as much because we're a really good offensive rebounding team. But this team has a great attitude. They work hard every day. We just have to keep working. I don't worry so much about how much better we can get. I don't live in that world either.
We'll go to Jerome Solomon with the Houston Chronicle. Jerome, please go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Kelvin. How are you, sir?
What do you say, Jerome?
Not much. I know you've talked about it before, but when it comes to program building and the NIL and how that operates, I don't know if you saw Coach Boynton from Oklahoma State, what he said a few days ago, that, recruiting used to be so much about building relationships over time, and he could beat out some better teams or more accomplished coaches anyway for a player. Where now, if you put in that much time, you could kind of get outbid. He didn't use that word, but that's kind of what he meant. Any thoughts on how the NIL has changed stuff for you guys?
I did see that interview, and I really listened to what he said, and I thought he was told it like it was. I mean, he everything he said was right on. I agree with everything he said. I don't like to talk numbers, but I live with these numbers. We've had kids that we just stopped recruiting. Our names attached to them for a long time, and we stopped recruiting them probably 2 months ago because we heard what the number was. We're not doing that. He can go play for if he can get that, God bless him. Go for it, son. I don't do that stuff, Jerome. My deal is more player retention. If you'll notice, in our starting lineup the other night, Jamal came in as a high school kid. Emmanuel, a high school kid. Juan, a high school kid. And Javier, a high school kid. We came off the bench with Ramon, high school kid. Jojo, high school kid. I'm pro portal. We will get kids out of the portal, but that's not going to define who we are. If you look at the teams that are ranked at the top of the nation, look at the background of where their players come from. UConn's a high school development program. Purdue's a high school development program. Houston's a high school development program. That's just the way we do it. Whatever way another coach does it is the right way because that's his way. But I like developing kids. And once a kid is in this program, we're going to play the NIL game with them. As far as matching some of these outlandish, ridiculous numbers that some of these schools are able to throw around, good. Glad you got it. But we have 2 high school kids coming in. That's all we've signed, Mercy and Chase. Look forward to getting them here in June and start developing them and working with them. We already know who's coming back on this team. After 35 years and been here 10, coaches have a pulse of their program, especially when you're as close-knit and relationship-driven as we are. But the NIL is real, Jerome.
Yeah.
Now, some of these numbers probably aren't real that you hear thrown around. I mean, some of them get ridiculous, but we've dabbled with some kids, and you hear, will you match this? No, we're not a match program. But we've won because some of our portal kids. We don't win. We don't go to the Elite Eight without Josh Carlton and Kyler Edwards and Tajay Moore. That was a huge help for us. LJ Cryer and Damian, portal kids. But I heard Mike loud and clear. He's exactly right. If you're in a program that doesn't give you support, but you've got to go out there and help yourself too. We're very independent in how we run this program. This is an inside out program. So everything that we're doing here, I have a pulse of it, and my hands on top of everything that's going on. And I work closely with my staff on how to handle things and make decisions for the program. And based on our success so far, I think we make pretty good decisions.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Okay,
Thanks,
Jerome.
Jerome. We'll go back to Joseph Duarte, please, and we have time for a couple more. Go ahead, Joseph.
Kelvin, one word that's used to describe your program often is toughness. And I was wondering, what does that word mean to you? I mean, I know the definition, but in terms, it's a compliment, the way they're using it. But how do you define toughness and what you want to accomplish in your basketball program?
Well, I think it all started young. You know, there's a lot of guys get opportunities, and you know, because they were assistants under the right guys, right at the right time. Some of them were born on third base and think they hit a triple. Some of them became awesome. But every coach has a way he wants his team to work, and that's his signature. That's his identity. We all have an identity. You know, when I took over at Montana Tech, every degree curriculum there required a minimum of 30 credits in math. I was recruiting all engineers. There's a reason I got that job at 25. You know, if they wanted to go hire a real coach, they would have never hired me. They had nothing to lose, and we wind up winning, you know, conference championships, tournaments, all that stuff. But all my teams at Montana Tech had a common thread. They were all tough. They were really tough. They played hard. And I've always felt that was a way for us to balance the field, because we just couldn't out-talent people. I couldn't recruit the kind of talent College of Great Falls had, or Northern Montana had a really good team. I'm forgetting some of the teams now, maybe so long ago, but it just seems like we just never had the talent they had. And then I think God's hand was on this. And next thing you know, I'm the head coach at Washington State. You know, you got Arizona and UCLA, Stanford, Cal, all those schools had great talent. When I first take these programs over, you're not going to get great talent. So you have to have something that you can compete with. So I always try to get my teams to play harder, play tougher, be more physical. And then my last 2 years at Montana Tech, we had the most talented team in the league. My last few years at Washington State, I had 3 kids on one team that wound up getting drafted into the NBA. Now, I left that team and went to Oklahoma. And then at Oklahoma, I had to do the same thing. You have to have an identity. And I think, and I give the athletic directors at all those schools that hired me, starting with Washington State, Montana Tech, they just asked me, did I want to be the coach? The other guy left. I said, okay, sure. It's kind of the way I was hired. I think my pay went up from 11,000 to 15,500 or something like that. So I got a bump there. Sharon was happy about that, I'm sure. Washington State, though, I think I fit Washington State. And I think Oklahoma saw how those teams played and wanted their program maybe to look like that. I don't think Houston plays any different than any teams I've ever coached. I coach every team the same. I think as you get older, you get better, you get more experienced, you get wiser. You learn to coach with one eye open and one ear closed. And I think that's important. You know, when you're a younger coach, you have a tendency to hear everything and see everything. But as you get older, you know, you have more of a filter. Sometimes I see things and it's not important to react to that. Or I hear something and it's not important to react to that either. So I think as you learn to never lose sight of where you came from, never lose your chip. My chip is how my teams play with energy and heart, and hustle and toughness. And I think our kids enjoy that because they think they're somewhere where they're growing, you know, and but that's where you've got to have a great relationship. You know, Jamal Shed's been here 4 years. Jalen Rogers been here 5. Javier Francis is his third. Emmanuel's third. Ramon's in his third, fourth. You know, I think if you want to know anything about our program, look at the longevity of our players. You know, everybody wants to pick out 1 or 2, but we've had look how many we've had. You know, I think that speaks to how, not necessarily the toughness question, but the relationship question. You know, Chancellor asked me something earlier about confidence, and you know, he noticed that I hollered at him and thought maybe that would kill their confidence. I guess that was his point. But quit focusing on that. You know, look at the bigger picture. These kids come back every year.
Time for a couple more. We'll go to Chris Gardner, please. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, kind of touching on that, kids coming back. What are your thoughts on the TBT coming to the Fertitta Center and one more player participating in it?
Yeah, I didn't know a lot about it. Rob Gray texts me. I hear from Rob Gray all the time. Rob gets bored and texts me, and he watches our game, so he's always texting me his opinion on it. Sometimes I'll say, "Okay, Rob, good night," and then sometimes he may say something that's worth responding to. But Rob's a general manager. He's trying to help me find a coach. I told him that I know one that would not be the coach, but he's got to find somebody that's, he said, I want somebody that's savvy about the game. I said, well, so everybody wants that, Rob. I said, why don't you be the coach? But he's got some guys already committed, but a lot of that depends on what happens to them as far as the NBA. Like Dejan Dro is killing it. You know, if he gets a call up and he signs a deal, he probably wouldn't play. But I love the fact that we're hosting it. And I think the fact that we've had sustained success over a long period of time here has made us a name in the basketball world. Now, like Wichita State has a great name in the basketball world because of the tradition and history of their program. And I think so do we. So they're going to stick this thing somewhere where they think people would get excited. It's kind of a compliment to our program. And I think our fans look forward to seeing maybe Josh Carlton play or Fabian or Damian Dotson, Armani. I mean, you could come up with a pretty good Houston team now over the years. And if they do, I'd sure enjoy going to watch them.
Thank you, Chris. Last question of the day. We'll go to Chris Baldwin, please. Chris, go ahead.
Kelvin, is there a secret sauce to being a good development program? And you've always, as you said, got, Washington State got guys in the NBA, but do you think you've gotten better at it over the years?
Yeah, I think everybody does, though. Chris, I don't. It's hard for me to evaluate me or to evaluate my program because we just show up and work every day. And then all of a sudden we play and everybody's noticing how good we are. And sometimes that stuff's hard to put into words without sounding like you're bragging on yourself. And I just don't like doing that. I mean, our product is our product. Why don't other schools do it? Well, other schools probably are better other things than we are, but based on where I started my career and how I see things through my lens, player development has always been key. Now, when I started doing the player development thing, I didn't have assistant coaches. I didn't have a strength coach. I got the trainer when football season was over. So my prevention and care, 3-credit prevention and care of athletic injury classes from good old Pembroke State came in handy because I knew how to do a strip tape and I knew how to do a figure 8 tape. I knew where the ice machine was. Sometimes I'd have to bring baggies from home to put them in, but that's where you start, And I think the good thing about my approach to this stuff is I never forget where I come from. I don't want to be anything other than who I am. Some people may like it, some people not, and that's okay. Working hard and getting kids to understand the importance of work on a daily basis, hiring my assistant coaches, former players, my son has been really good for us, but I didn't hire them hoping they'd turn out good. I knew how good they were. It's not a surprise. I've been around I was around Kelvin almost every day of his life for 30 some years, so I knew how hard he worked. I coached Hollis for 4 years, Qantas. I was with KC for 2 tours with the Canadian senior team. The other guys are former managers that I moved up. Anthony Goldwire, I worked with him in Milwaukee. So I don't hire based on resumes. You can't call me and tell me about a guy. I don't do any of that. I have my way of hiring people. I have my way of running this program, and most of it's non-negotiable.